It is fall, and with it comes all of the Crockpot recipes. I have in this video 10 of my family's favorite recipes for you. I will have a PDF download available for you. That information will be down below in the doobly-doo. So without further ado, let's get slow cooking. So we'll start with 1 pound of Italian sausage. I had pre-cooked this and stuck it in the freezer, which makes this really easy to do. 4 cups of chicken broth. I'm just using the cubes because they're cheap, let's be honest, and I had them in my pantry. 128 can of tomatoes. I have these whole tomatoes, so we will just use these. There we go. And then later on, I can use a potato masher to like squish those up. It asks for 2 cans of a 10 ounce of tomato soup. I don't have one of those. So we're gonna use this 14.5 ounce, just one of it, and a touch of water should be fine. And this is it for now. So put the lid on, cook it on low 6 to 8 hours or high 3 to 4 hours. And at the end, we will add our pasta and cheese. Here's the soup after a couple of hours, and everything should be fully cooked. And I did mush up my tomatoes, and it is time to add all of my tortellinis and all of my cream cheeses. So I'm gonna add this whole container and this whole container, and we will cook on high for another 30 minutes until my tortellinis are totally cooked, and then we're good to eat. Serve that alongside some salad and some crusty bread. I even have a whole video based on a no-knead homemade crusty bread that is so delicious and would go with this nicely. In my crock pot, I have a base of celery and 2 onions. They're just largely chopped to prop up the roast a little bit. I'm gonna mix all of this in a mixing bowl, or measuring, like measuring, whatever. You know what I'm saying. One of those. With some water, stir it all together and pour it on top. And the other half I'm gonna put on sandwiches. Here's my water and beef broth. Here comes the onion soup mix, the brown gravy mix, and this ranch packet. I hope this doesn't turn out too salty. There's a lot of beef in there, so I think it'll be fine. Oh, I also put a stick of butter in there. Lid on, it's on high. We'll tuck that back in the corner and check on it later. I shredded the beef and stuck it back into the juice, and we're just gonna serve this with the leftover baked rice and green beans from last night. Italian sausage and vegetables, and anytime you put spicy Italian sausage in a dish, I'm pretty much gonna like it. I have 1 package of spicy Italian sausages going down in the bottom. I have 4 small zucchinis, 1 small onion, and 2 yellow potatoes. All of this is going on top. Chopping these veggies is really the only prep work. 128 ounce can of petite diced tomatoes, whatever brand you prefer. Now for the spices. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, some crushed red pepper flakes. Now, I'm a fan of crushed red pepper flakes, but if you are on the shy side, since we did use spicy sausage, you can go on the low side or leave it out. That is totally up to you. Some dried oregano and dried basil. I will top mine with a little bit of kosher salt, because while the sausage is quite spicy and salty, none of the vegetables are. And we can always add more later. Lid on and let it run on high for 6 hours. What's nice about this recipe is that you can substitute any of the vegetables or the sausage for one that you prefer. For this recipe, we'll start by mixing the sauce that goes on top of the meat, which is 1 can of tomato sauce, 1 packet of onion soup mix, 2 tablespoons of oil of your choice, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon ground oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of just plain black pepper. And this one's super, super ground, so this will be more spicy than a coarser ground pepper, so I'll go a little shy on that one. Give it some whiskey business and set it to the side, and we'll put the meat in the crock pot. On top of all of our round steaks, here comes the sauce that we mixed up a little bit before. Place 8 potatoes, whole like this, on top. So make sure you give them a wash and probably pierce them with a fork, because they're gonna essentially turn into baked potatoes. Cook on low for 8 to 10 hours or high for 5 to 6 hours, depending on the temperature of your crock pot. Mine tends to run a little on the hot side, but this is round steak after all, and it does need to be cooked a lot longer than a lot of other cuts of meat. I ended up taking everything out of the crock pot and mixing in a cornstarch and water slurry, stirred it all together and turned it back on high just to thicken up my gravy a little bit. And then when it came time to plate, I used these really, really large bowls and I put 1 potato and a good amount of steak slices in them and then poured the gravy all over the top. This was so good. Next up is some Creole chicken, and this was a hit at my house. So popular, everybody adored it. This is definitely a staple in the rotation from now on. So I took all the skin off of the chicken thighs and sprinkled all of it with a Cajun seasoning. Tony's is my favorite one. 3 cups of your favorite type of broth. I'm using vegetable broth because it's in my fridge and I want to get rid of it. 1 diced green bell pepper, 2 large diced tomatoes, 1 can of drained and rinsed red beans, 2 teaspoons of Cajun seasoning, give that a little stirry stir, and put all of our chicken thighs on top sitting in the liquid. Lid on and cook it on low for about 7 hours or high for 5 to 6 hours. For this taco meatloaf, we will start by mixing in a glass bowl the following ingredientes. 2 cups of crushed tortilla chips, 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, 1 cup of your favorite salsa, 2 eggs, 1 package of taco seasoning. Next up, you will crumple in 2 pounds of your favorite ground beef or ground meat that you prefer. Mix it well, and when everything is mixed together and squished, form it into a loaf type of a shape. To make the serving process easier, here in my 6-quart crock pot, I have some aluminum foil and I've sprayed the entire thing with cooking spray. And in comes our meat loaf. Lid on and cook on low for 3 to 4 hours. Of course, what is meatloaf without a little ketchup-y glaze? So I have some ketchup, a little bit of brown sugar, and I'm going to top that with your favorite hot sauce. You can use Tabasco, you can use Sriracha, although that doesn't read like Mexican inspired to me. So I am using this taco, like spicy taco sauce, which actually ended up really tasty. Stir it together, pour it on top, and then you can serve it however you want. You can serve it meatloaf style with mashed potatoes, or you can serve this sliced on kind of like a salad, almost like a taco inspired salad with a taco meatloaf. 1.5 pounds of baby red potatoes, sliced but not peeled, into an empty, non-greased pot. 2 poblanos, 7 to 8 ounces of deli ham. I just cut this into smaller chunks so it would kind of spread out more evenly. A drizzle of oil to coat everything. 1 tablespoon of dried oregano. Of course, I will eyeball that. And remember, potatoes can handle a good bit of salt, but ham is also salty, so maybe go a little shy on the salt for this one. I'm gonna give this a stir. As I'm looking at this, I don't think I have enough oil. I'm gonna drizzle some more oil on top of this. I just don't want it to stick. And it is as easy as that. Lid on, let's cook it on low for about 7 to 8 hours or on high for 4 hours. So what we're gonna do now is dump all of this on a platter basically. If you're serving it now, if you're not serving it now, go ahead and turn it off and keep it in here just to keep it warm and put your cheese on now. I'm just putting it on a platter and serving it now. We will do 1 cup of broth. I have this chicken bone broth in my pantry, and this is 2 cups right here, so I'm just gonna use half of this. 1/4 cup of soy sauce. 3/4 of a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, which is actually a good amount. Thai food to me is spicy more often than not. 3 cloves of garlic, or if you're more efficient, it's going to be this tube of garlic. Into that we will add 1 red bell pepper. Here we go. About 1.5 pounds of sliced chicken breast. Lid on and let's cook on low. After my chicken is cooked for about 3 hours or so, I'm gonna add a couple more ingredients. In go a bunch of green onions, maybe 1/3 of a cup of peanut butter right there. In this recipe, do not use the natural peanut butter. It separates too much. Try and use the processed kind. Chunky or smooth, doesn't matter which. And the rest of my chicken broth mixed with some cornstarch is gonna go in there. Lid back on and let's stick this sucker on high for another 30 minutes till everything gets bubbly and comes together.
Meanwhile,
go ahead and cook up your favorite ramen noodles. I picked up these because they didn't have the seasoning packet. Of course, you can do the cheaper ones that do have the seasoning packet, but set that to the side and use it for something else because we do not want to do that. We just want plain ramen noodles. For our meatball sliders, I'm gonna start with my sauce. 1 can of cranberry sauce. I realize it's upside down, and that's because they put the label on upside down. And 15 ounces of tomato sauce. These are super small, so I did use 2 of these. 1, 2. Some crushed red pepper flakes. I'm gonna go half a teaspoon. 1 packet of onion soup mix. I know, hold on to your hats. Go ahead and give it a wang jangle. Okay, next up, add your meatballs of choice. I just happen to have this one in my freezer, so I wanna kinda try and use it all up. Approximately 2 pounds or so, and I don't think I'm gonna use this whole bag. That's about 2 pounds of meatballs. I'm gonna save the rest for one other meal for my family. Try and coat them a little bit. And you can cook this on low for 3 to 4 hours or high for 1 to 2 hours. Woo, it has been a couple hours, so we're checking in. Yeah, I'd say those are ready for the sandwiches. So let's go ahead and build that right now. My meatballs are totally done. The sauce is warm, and so you're gonna pick your roll of choice. I'm just going with these super small ones today to make a mini slider. Some sliced provolone, and then you can build your sandwiches. 2 looks pretty good for as small as these are. Because this is on the big side also. No, okay, that didn't quite rip in half. You can, of course, do whatever cheese you want, but I like provolone. I think provolone is good. I have 4 pounds of chicken wings in here. I have my glaze that I just mixed up. You can check out how I made that right here. To make our sauce for our wings, I am starting with 1 cup of honey. Yes, that is a crop load of honey, but I do have 4 pounds of wings here. To that, I am going to add a half a cup of soy sauce, little bit of garlic. I really, really like this little squeezy tube. It is so convenient. About 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, just a pinch of sugar, about 1 teaspoon of black pepper, maybe a little, that's about a teaspoon. A little bit of water, and it's time to whisk. Get all of this mixed together and then just dump it on all the wings. It is seriously that easy. Lid on, and we're gonna cook this on low for 3 to 4 hours or high for 6 to 8 hours, depending on when you're prepping it and when you would like to eat. What you could do at this point is kind of throw these in the air fryer or in the broiler just to get them a little crispy, but they are fully cooked, so you do not have to do that. One more reminder that if you want the recipes for today's video, instructions for that download will be down below for you in the description box. You can also find it on my website, frugalfitmom.com. It is under the shop tab. If you tried these, let me know down below which was your favorite. I wish you happy slow cooking, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.